Hello everybody, Shinjo here and welcome back to the channel. And today I am going to be listing off my top 10 Pokemon that Ash Ketchum has owned. So Ash is leaving the series after over 20 years, and I figure the least that I could do is discuss my top 10 favorite Pokemon that Ash has owned. So there are definitely a lot of choices to pick. I don't know how many specifically, but if we're not counting Ash's 30 Tauros, I'm sure there's at least over 40 Pokemon, maybe 50. I don't know. Post Shinjo will let you know about that. But obviously there are a lot of options to pick. I tried to stray away from mons that he only owned temporarily, like the Beedrill caught in the bug catching contest in Johto. And obviously this is my own opinion, so there's gonna be some that you guys probably like that I didn't put on here. So any mons that aren't here are just considered an honorable mention, just to make things easier on myself. But let's get started. Number 10 is Ash's Snorlax. Just to give context, I wrote out what I thought were my favorite Pokemon of Ash's and rewrote my list multiple times, and it'll probably be a different list by the time this video comes out too. But Ash's Snorlax was just a fun little addition. Obviously the whole joke of it always eating and always falling asleep is kind of overdone at this point, but I just like Snorlax and the fact that he used it in the Battle Frontier and it had, what was it, over 4 moves at least. That was just really impressive. And even though Ash doesn't use his Snorlax much, it's still a fun mon to have around. Number 9 is Ash's Buizel, and this shouldn't be a surprise because I love anything involving Ash's Buizel. I just like its personality, the fact that it was always calm and collected except for those rare circumstances. I love the battle that it had with Mayloon's Lucario. That's probably my favorite gym battle from Sinnoh in general. I just love Ash's Buizel, even though it was technically Dawn's Buizel. Really glad that they traded it, although I loved Ash and Aipom at the same time. The reason it's only at number 9 is I personally think that Buizel should have evolved into Floatzel. That's my personal opinion. But other than that, a really good Pokemon. Number 8 is Ash's Totodile. So a lot of these takes are probably going to be based off of the Pokemon that I like in general. Although, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because Pokemon like Buizel and Totodile, I like them because Ash used it, so it's kind of an Ouroboros in a way to put it, where I like the Pokemon because Ash used it, and the Pokemon that are on this list are because I like the Pokemon. So it's kind of like an intertwining circle in a way to put it. But I just like Totodile in general. I like its goofy personality, and the fact that it can just be so carefree about anything. The only issue that I have is that it didn't really have an arc, unfortunately, which is weird to say because it's a Pokemon, but like, we have arcs like Ash's Greninja and a whole bunch of other Pokemon later down the line, so Ash's Totodile not really having much development is a bit unfortunate, and I personally think it should have evolved into a Crocodile at least, but Totodile is just still a solid mon, even though it didn't really do much in Johto overall. Number 7 is a new addition to the list, Ash's Sirfetch'd. So I just love Ash's Sirfetch'd. I never thought that a Pokemon like this would fit so much as an Ash mon until this, but Sirfetch'd is really cool. The fact that out of his entire Journey's team, except for Dragonite, it's the only one that didn't rely on a gimmick. I just really like Ash's Sirfetch'd. The fact that he has mons like Gengar and Lucario that rely on Mega Evolution and Gigantamax to actually be strong. Ash's Sirfetch'd just does it all on its own. And the fact that it held its own against Cynthia's Garchomp is really cool as well. The only thing I'm not a fan of is that I wish it had more development, but that's just a personal take on my part. I like the development that it was given, but it just kind of didn't do anything much up until the Masters 8 tournament. But that's not really a dig against Sirfetch'd, that's more a dig against other Pokemon that got more spotlight. Number 6 is Ash's original starter, Pikachu. There was no way that I could make this list without including Pikachu. It's definitely had some high moments like the counter shield back in Sinnoh, learning Iron Tail and Hoenn, Electro Web and Alola, all the battles that it had, especially in Alola and now Journeys. But it's also had some low moments. Again in Journeys, there was that episode where it got annoyed because Ash preferred Riolu, which is weird because they've been starters since episode 1, but I'm not going to dive into that. Ash's Pikachu is just a staple on his team. There was just no way that I couldn't include it on this list. Number 5 is Ash's Crocodile, and I don't think I'm in the minority for saying this. It's my favorite of Ash's Univamons. The other ones had good moments of development, but Crocodile is just really cool. I like the fact that it started as a Sandile following Ash around. He battled it and blasted it off as a Crocorock. It came back and Ash caught it, and it evolved, which is basically its whole storyline, so that's just a really good storyline. And the fact that it took down heavy hitters like Iris's Dragonite, that's really cool. But unfortunately, it's at the middle of the list, not because it's bad, but mainly because it's the best mon in a lackluster region. Like, number 4 is Ash's Hawlucha, and this is basically the same reasoning that I have for Sirfetch'd. A mon like this, I never thought would make sense for Ash. I never thought it fit, but I just really like Sirfetch'd. It has that sort of nobility and pride that Sirfetch'd has, where Hawlucha has to finish a battle with Flying Press, and especially how it became a sort of brother figure to Noibat when it hatched, and it's just a really cool mon. It definitely has flair, pun intended. It's just a very solid mon, and unfortunately it got overshadowed by other Pokemon on his team, not mentioning any names. Greninja! But overall, just a solid member of his team. Number 3 is Ash's Lycanroc. Easily the top member of his team in Alola, maybe next to Pikachu. The one that won him the Alola League, I feel like I have to give it props. I like the fact that it started off as a Rockruff that Kukui had, where Ash caught it, evolved it into a special form that only he had. Kind of reminds me of the series before, but whatever. I just like Ash's Lycanroc. I like Lycanroc as a Pokemon in general, and I like the color orange, so a Lycanroc that looks like this is really appealing to me. Winning a big battle like the Alola League certainly helps his ranking. Runner-up is arguably Ash's Hoenn Ace Sceptile. I'm not really sure if you consider Sceptile Ash's ace from the Hoenn region. I personally would. The only one I could argue it would be besides that is maybe Swellow. But considering it was Ash's only Pokemon that was a starter from Hoenn, I feel like it's fair to have that as his ace Pokemon, especially since starters typically are. But I just like Trico as a Pokemon. It was definitely a very sassy Pokemon when it first joined Ash's team. I like it as a Grovyle better myself, just because Grovyle is a mon that I like design-wise more than Sceptile. But after Sceptile's heart got broken in Battle Frontier, as dumb as that sounds, that's actually what happened. I didn't expect that to be the development that Ash's Sceptile got, but it did. But I think what really helped Sceptile's ranking is the fact that it defeated a legendary Pokemon, Darkrai, in the Sinnoh League. I think besides that, I probably might not even include it in my top 10. The fact that it won that big battle for him really helps him. But I feel like this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Number 1 is Ash's Infernape. There was no way that it wouldn't be. My whole channel is based off of Infernape. Ash's Infernape is absolutely my favorite. I love the story that it had with Ash and Paul. When Paul abandoned it, Ash decided to show Paul how strong it actually is, defeated Paul, and lost in the Sinnoh League immediately after, but we're not going to talk about that. I love how it came back, even though it didn't really do much in Journeys. It's just a really good mon overall. And this makes me a bit upset because he's had other monkey-based Pokemon like Primeape and Aipom before, but nothing really came from them. So the fact that my favorite animal, a monkey, is a really solid mon on Ash's team is just really amazing, and why it's at number 1. But those are my top 10 Pokemon of Ash's. There were a lot that I really wanted to include, like I mentioned before. Ash's Primeape and Apom. I just like the Pokemon in general. Bayleaf, even though I know a lot of people don't like the fact that it crushed on Ash, I can kind of understand it. But there are a lot of other mons that I could have included. Heck, there's another 10 plus Pokemon I could have included from Unova that I didn't. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Let me know how wrong I am because I didn't include a certain tongue-wearing frog on my list. But I'll see you in the next video. Momentai.